Let's now look at public goods, which can also be a source of market failure. If you recall what public goods are, they are goods which have two particular properties. One is that public goods are non-diminishable, that is, as more consumers utilize a public good, it doesn't decrease in quantity. Its quantity remains constant, whatever that quantity happens to be. And the other characteristic is that it's non-exclusive. That is, as soon as the public good comes into existence, it's not possible to exclude anyone. Or maybe, let's not say it's not possible, but no one is excluded from enjoying the benefits of the public good if they so choose to avail themselves of it. So, examples are national defence, streetlights, police. You might be able to think of your own. They must have the two properties of non-excludability and non-diminishability. So, as I've said before, in the case of streetlights, if streetlights are in existence in a street, then no one can be excluded from enjoying the benefits of the streetlight. You just walk down the street, you enjoy the benefits of the streetlight. And equally, it's non-diminishable. That is, it doesn't matter how many people walk down the street, it doesn't somehow diminish the quantity of streetlights. Okay, so these public goods can generate large positive externalities of consumption. This is chiefly because they're non-excludable, but also they're non-diminishable. But the key thing here is non-excludability. Because no one can be excluded from enjoying a public good, it can result in free-riding behaviour on the part of self-interested agents, self-interested potential market participants. So people could opt out of the market for a public good and enjoy the benefits of the public good which is paid for by the people who stay in the market. So, for example, let's say that there's no street lights in my street. Let's imagine governments aren't involved here, and there's no street lights in my street, and I decide it would be good if we had street lights in the street. So I go around to all the people in the street and say, how about we all chip in and buy some street lights? Everyone says, yeah, that's a great idea. And as it turns out, let's say, I put up a street light in front of my house, and a few doors down, another person puts a street light up in front of their house, and a few doors down from that, another person puts up a street light in front of their house. So on the good side of the street, everyone puts in some money and buys a street light for the street. Meanwhile, on the self-interested, evil, greedy, no good, nasty, waste of space people on the other side of the street, they all decide, hang on a sec, these fools on the other side of the street paid for the street lights. We can enjoy the benefits of the street light that they paid for without having to chip in anything for ourselves. We can enjoy the benefits of the street light for free because we can't be excluded from enjoying the benefits of the street light once it's there. This is called free-riding behaviour. And this will usually result in a severe under-allocation of resources for the production of streetlights. In the most extreme case of, let's say, the streetlights, I think to myself, well, okay, I might put up a streetlight, but maybe if I wait for the idiot next door to put up the streetlight, I can enjoy the benefits of their expenditure for free. The problem is, the so-called idiot next door is thinking exactly the same thing as me. He's thinking, I'll wait for the idiot next door to me to buy the streetlight. So everyone in the street is waiting for the idiot next door to buy the streetlight so they can enjoy the benefits for free, and therefore no one is buying the streetlight. So here's our paradox of an extreme case of free riding, perfect free riding, is that everyone wants streetlights, And yet no one has purchased streetlights. Everyone has opted out. So this is a severe case of under-allocation of resources. Just as an aside, when we're going to draw a diagram representing market failure for public goods, just an aside on marginal costs. Since public goods are usually produced on a massive scale by a single producer, there can be significant economies of scale involved in that. So if you think of national defence, for example, it's not the case that, say, if Australia decides to buy 100 tanks, that it buys one tank each from 100 suppliers. Rather, it buys 100 tanks from one supplier. So there can be significant economies of scale associated with the production and sale of public goods. And that means that it's entirely possible that the marginal costs of producing public goods at high levels of output will be constant. Or in other words, in graphical terms, the marginal cost of producing an additional unit of a public good would be unchanged, or the marginal cost curve would be horizontal at very high levels of output. That's possible. But even if that weren't the case, then you would be buying public goods from many suppliers, and so we might say that we're talking about a competitive market on the supply side at least. And so it might be the case that the marginal cost of increasing output will itself rise. So the marginal cost curve would be upward sloping in that case. Now, we're going to assume that latter example in the following diagram. So here we've got the marginal social benefit and the marginal social cost. The society's demand for a public good, in this case it's helicopters, to save people who fall down ravines or fall off cliffs or go bungee jumping and the rope snaps, or other exciting stuff like that. And we've got the marginal social costs, the cost of the society of producing the public good. Here is our optimal quantity of the public good, the helicopters. This is the price that the society would pay for that. But let's say people try to free ride, and so the actual market demand for the helicopters, the people who actually chip in to pay for the helicopters, is much lower than the social demand. So we get free riders who leave the market, and so the market demand falls. In that case, the actual market demand will be much lower, and therefore the market output, the allocation to the society, will be less than is the socially optimal level. So the market will have failed to produce the optimal quantity of the public good. In the extreme case, you could have almost everyone. So we need to go on here. So at this market outcome, where people have opted out, so the demand curve is the yellow one, we can see that the marginal social cost is less than the marginal social benefit for the first helicopter, rather than producing at the optimal quantity of 3. So we'd be pushing back the marginal social benefits to the first unit and the marginal social costs to the first unit. So we will have lost this economic welfare area here. This would be the deadweight loss of economic welfare due to free riding behaviour, because the public good is non-excludable. In the more extreme case, the demand would be so low that the marginal social cost curve, or the supply curve, doesn't even intersect with the private demand curve, in which case the quantity bought and sold is of course zero. The highest price that the remaining consumers are willing to pay is less than the lowest marginal cost. So the quantity produced is zero in that case. Obviously, this is a severe market failure. The deadweight loss will be the entire area of economic welfare that could have been enjoyed if this society had produced at the socially optimal level. So the deadweight loss in this case, in the case of severe free riding, the deadweight loss is actually maximized